I'm Mike Quackenbush, and in just a second, you and I are going to be chatting with Justin from Electric Sleep Images. I recently got shot by Justin, and I realized that sounded more violent than I meant it to. I partook in a photo shoot, and I am thrilled with the results that I've gotten. If you've been working in pro wrestling longer than a cup of coffee, you undoubtedly know great promotional photos are worth their weight in gold. But it's a topic we haven't talked about enough here on Till We Make It. Justin has rapidly become one of the most in-demand photographers working in wrestling today. Not only because he's a talented individual behind the camera, but also because of a unique background he brings to the equation. And when I've got him on the spot here in a few minutes, I'm going to ask him about that. We'll see what he has to say. Without further ado, let's zoom up Justin from Electric Sleep Images. Justin, thank you for making time in your very busy schedule to talk about photography and wrestling with us here on Till We Make It. If I only could get you to answer one thing, I have more than one question though, but if I could only get you to answer one thing, it would be this. What do you wish professional wrestlers understood about photo shoots that they just don't seem to understand?
The one thing I get the most frequently is they get up there and they say, I have no idea what to do. What do I do? And the reality of it is you do exactly what you would do in the ring. The moment you get onto that backdrop, be in character. You know, a lot of people, their natural instinct too, when they have a camera on them, is that they freeze up and their eyes go wide. And instead of sitting there and kind of like micromanaging that process, I would rather say, hey, be who you would be in there. Look at that ring, what you do in there, do right here. And then as far as like getting angles and things like that, that's my job. Like I'll move you where I need you to move, but just be in that mode of that character. And that's probably the best advice I can give.
Right on. Well, that kind of answers my next question in a way, because you have this unique body of work where you shot some of the most famous people in professional wrestling. And you've also shot complete unknowns who are probably about to have their first match in the next couple of weeks. So you've got this wide spectrum, that makes me think, like, what could somebody bring? Like, once the lights are all on, the backdrop is there, you're behind the camera. Like, I'd want to know what should they bring? And it sounds like it's the same sort of thing that you do when you practice your wrestling entrance, essentially. When you're walking out on stage, it's the first time you're greeting the crowd. It's like a big emotive moment. Does that sound like those two things line up, like pro wrestling entrance energy and a photo shoot, or am I not getting that quite right?
Hit the nail right on the head. It's that exact energy when you first come through the curtain. I think it was William Regal who made the statement that the crowd is going to make an assumption about you within the first 15 seconds when you walk through that curtain.
I think it's even
And
less. I think in the age
yeah,
of TikTok, it's even less.
we all have short attention spans now because of social media.
Right.
But that's kind of what you need to bring to the photo shoot as well. Like when you are sitting there, you have to just maintain that though. You have to sit there and keep that going throughout the entire process. And the worst thing that I kind of see is where people will kind of hit one pose and then they run out of ideas. It's actually pretty simple. The biggest thing is the face. If your face is on point, if your facial expression is on point, if your eyes are correct, then everything else kind of falls into place. They say that with modeling starts from the feet up, which is true. I feel like with wrestling photography, it almost starts from head down because the first thing we want to see is face, and then it goes from there. As far as face, that's something that you can get a natural expression out of. The other stuff I can work with. I can pose the other things. So, but the face is very, very crucial.
Right on. Yeah.
I hope that made sense.
Yes, but that does trigger a question I'm going to ask you in a second, though, what you just said, because that's very interesting. It's a beautiful segue into my next question, though. Thank you for that. So something that I think really distinguished working with you from a lot of the other photographers I've worked with was your ability to direct and coach the posing of the body for optimal effect on camera. Is this because you have a background working in the fashion industry?
It's a little bit of a mix of different things. I have a background doing fashion photography. I've done portraiture. I've been doing photography for about 12 years. I started back around 2012, and I got to work with some really great photographers in the Hampton Roads area in Virginia. Chris Mangu, Dana Chapman, Jerry Navarrete. Those are guys that I would shadow and watch how they work. But my mom also owned a dance studio for 20 years. And I would go hang out at her studio after school and just watch her work with dancers and get the most out of motion and just being able to get different poses and watching bodies in motion and things like that. That's kind of what led me to shoot ringside and
Huh.
be able to do what I do there. But then I just kind of translated that over to the portrait side of things and the promo side of things too.
Right. So what you said earlier made me want to circle around to this. You said that shooting in fashion, it often starts from the feet up, like the reverse of wrestling. Can you just explain what is the theory there? Why that?
Basically, your posture. So if your feet are proper and
Hmm.
placed, if you go up kind of on the balls of your feet just slightly, things like that, that engages so many muscles in your core, your legs, and things like that
Hmm.
too. And it also kind of trains you to think of your body in terms of segments, like, legs facing this way, body facing this way, head facing this way. Um, I never knew that it was really a thing until the pandemic when my ex and I had like binge watched a bunch of seasons of Top Model. So that kind of came from that. She was
Right.
watching it and I was like, I don't want to watch this. And then I saw the photo shoots happening and I was like, okay, there might be something here. I'm gonna watch a bunch of this. So,
Right. Yeah, I had never thought about that, but I bet you there is a lot of useful information. And I mean this on the wrestling side to be gleaned from watching Top Model because um, eh, getting it right makes such a difference. And thinking about that for a second, about the whole getting it right thing, why should someone hire a professional photographer, right? I've heard people say, well, my friend is just going to come over with their iPhone 16 Pro Max and shoot me against a blank wall. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. Could you articulate that difference?
I'm gonna try to restrain it as much as I can because it's a very loaded answer to the question.
I
We'll be
bet.
here all day. But the reality is this: one, say that you're a graphics designer putting together like a flyer or a poster for a show, and someone gives you a picture shot on like an iPhone or even just a regular SLR camera that's been taken in natural light. That image is not going to have the same contrast and depth as an image that was shot on a studio background. The lighting on top of that will probably not look great. And I mean, just imagine it this way: imagine that you are the one who got your friend to take that photo, and they did it for free, as opposed to the guy who went to go like to a professional studio and had like a photo taken with like a bunch of strobe lights and things like that. Your photo is going to be next to that guy's on the poster. Who do
Right.
you think is going to look like the bigger star in that situation? Now, I'm not trying to sound arrogant and egotistical with it, but that is really the truth. Most fans, if they look at a flyer and they see that, especially for someone who might just be beginning their journey, too, it's crucial that you have an image that presents you like a star if you're just starting your journey with this too.
Hmm. Right. You are effectively a small business owner as an independent wrestler. You're an independently contracted professional. And these images are your marketing material. And just like you articulated there, you're going up against everybody else out there who also wants to get booked in wrestling. And the reality is, whether it's an iPhone Pro 16 Max or you're being shot on a potato, you don't want to put that up against the marketing material that's been captured by a real professional out there because it's a world of difference.
I kind of want to try the potato camera now. I'm not gonna lie.
I have a
just,
few of those. I
just to
don't
mess around
recommend
with
it.
it.
If you want to book Justin for your event or to bring him to your wrestling training center to shoot headshots or promotional photos, all of his contact information is down below in the descriptus. And if you'd like to watch more of the interviews I've conducted here on Till We Make It, click on the video appearing on screen right now and you'll jump into a playlist which contains all of my interviews thus far. Big thanks to all my patrons, a roll call of which is appearing on screen now. This would not be possible without their continued support. Thank you, one and all.